Hi, my name is Ginger Whitacre, and in 1992, my husband shared with me that the company he was involved with was involved in some illegal activities. And at that time, our lives were turned upside down. This is our story.
I first met Paul Willis, it was 2001, it was spring of 2001. I was in Edgefield Federal Prison Camp, and Paul visited me in prison, and the interesting thing is how Paul met me and how I first learned about Paul Willis. And he was at Cornell University, who was doing some of the Cypress's cancer research. He's CEO of Cypress Systems, and he was there visiting some of the professors at Cornell, and he talked to the Cornell professors, and he made a comment to them. He said, I would love to find a PhD biochemist that's got a background in selenium biochemistry, but besides being a scientist, could actually articulate about selenium and how it works and talk about cancer research and all those things, more kind of a marketing standpoint, but be a PhD scientist. And they told him, they said, boy, do we have the guy for you. And they started describing about me and my background. And Paul came to Edgefield, South Carolina a couple weeks later and spent some time with me in the visiting room. And a couple weeks later, he brought a board member to meet me. And after that, from 2001 on, I was receiving letters, or he was calling our home to see how Ginger and the kids were, or he was visiting, and we were hearing from him almost on a weekly basis from 2001 till I got out in 2006.
We really hit it off because he's just an amazing man, just such a strong Christian and family oriented, and he just really understood the plight that Mark was in, and he wanted not only to have Mark come to work with him, but to be that strength for him during his time that he was incarcerated. And he really was amazing during the whole time, keeping Mark encouraged to keep forging on. Paul called almost every single week to check to see how we were doing, how the children were doing, was there anything that we needed, just to lend us support, either by just praying with us on the phone, or he would say to encourage Mark. So I found that extremely comforting that he and Susan, his wife Susan, would always had us in their thoughts and prayers, and really kept us encouraged during this journey.
And people don't realize it. There's been many people that come out of prison that he's helped give a second chance, at least 8 that I know of. Not only did Paul do that for us and give me a second chance with my life, Paul also brought us into his family. We got to know his wife Susan very well. We got to know their 3 sons, and Jordan, Josh, and Jacob. And we really became part of the Willis family. It just wasn't like someone that I worked for, or it wasn't that kind of relationship. It was really a true mentorship and kind of relationship, and I have tremendous amount of respect for him. And I've been very active with the CBMC, Christian Businessmen Connection, over the last several years, because that's who planted a seed for me to change my life 15 years ago before I entered prison. CBMC did. And the amazing thing about Paul, I started spending more and more time with CBMC, to the point now I'm almost full-time with CBMC as a marketplace ambassador. And Paul supports that fully. He sees that's where God's led me. And it's just been amazing that he's just been so supportive of that, versus a lot of CEOs of companies would feel like they're losing their individuals.
A dear woman. She is, we are really, I would have to say, just had such a connection right from the very beginning. She just is a kind-hearted person, and her and Paul both have such a love for children. And being a kindergarten teacher, they had opened their hearts and their wallet to always support my class and everything that they did. Every Christmas that I taught, Paul Willis supplied funds to buy my students Christmas gifts, which is an amazing thing for an organization like Cypress to do, and it just really warms my heart. And Paul's heart, and Susan's also, is really dedicated to a number of ministries that deal with children. One in Brazil called Hope Unlimited, and they're just wonderful people. I couldn't say enough. And my children just love Paul and Susan. They just would count them among their family for all that they have done for us over these years, and they just think there's no one better than the 2 of them. I truly believe that it's by the grace of God that Mark and I have been along this journey and have come out so well, and our children have survived. And I just feel so blessed that I have been surrounded by wonderful Christian people, and every time that Mark and I have had to relocate or had some trial or tribulation, God has sent some wonderful people into our lives. And a prime example would be Paul and Susan Willis, who God knew at that time we really needed them, and we needed their encouragement, and Mark needed encouraging all during his incarceration. And it just is a testimony that he is always with us and always watching, and will provide for us what we need.
So many people come up to us now that this journey's started well over 20 years ago, this journey of working for the FBI and the incarceration. And you know, when my wife and I and our 3 children, we look at it, it was not a net loss, it was a net gain. We got to know God better than we ever had in our lives during those 12 years of adversity. And we really learned how powerful God is. And the scripture it reminds me the most of is Romans 8:28, that He took all those dark hours in my life, and all those dark hours, and He turned all those negatives that I didn't even want to live, and even wanted to try to attempt suicide because of that, and He turned all that into good. And it's just amazing how awesome God we have. And I urge you, if you don't know God, I urge you to have God in your life, because He would do amazing things in your life and through your life. And our family is just one example out of millions out there what God can do in your life.